Hey guys, welcome to episode number 2 of Hippie Tribe of Five. I'm Anthony,
I'm Candy.
and today we're going to be talking quite a bit about veganism. As you're well aware, I think we've made it pretty clear. That's a subject we're super passionate about. And again, maybe it goes without saying, but I feel like I need to kind of sum it up a little bit what veganism is, because we get asked this question quite a bit, or when you're discussing things that you can't have with somebody or that you won't partake in. I guess it's not a can't have, because it's an active choice. It's not like you're breaking an addiction necessarily, although sometimes it can be. Anyway, to be truly vegan is no animal products whatsoever. That would include eggs, cheese. That would include honey, fur, leather. That would include makeup made from animal products. That would make, just you name it.
Even tested on products.
Even tested on, yeah, absolutely. And of course, Candy here is our reigning veteran vegan. She's been doing it for the longest. So I'm going to hand it over to her with what kind of influenced your decision to be vegan. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I became vegan a little over 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years. And what started this process for me was health reasons. I got tired of living a life full of pain, and it wasn't just about looking in the mirror and not liking what I saw. It was the headaches, the restless sleep, the stomach pain, and the joint pain, and I felt at the time, I'm too young for this stuff. What's going on? And so I decided to do some research at what I could do to make some changes. And of course, you hear all of these fad diets, and that's not what I wanted. I don't want it to be a diet. I wanted it to be a lifestyle change. I wanted to be healthy from the inside out. And so I watched some documentaries, and I read some articles. I started following some pages on Facebook. And the one specific thing that I'll say converted me, it won me over, was watching the documentary Earthlings.
Yeah.
And I say all the time, I became vegan for the health reasons, but the animals keep me here. Because it's, again, from the inside out, I don't want to just be a healthy body, but I want to be a healthy mind, and I want to, complete health. And so I don't feel like I can give 100% to my fellow person if I'm not being 100% to every living creature.
Absolutely, that 100% makes sense. And you mentioned the documentary Earthlings. Now, you posted last week on social media that we were going to watch it and kind of study for this episode. And it was actually my first time truly watching Earthlings. Now, I've seen lots of other vegan documentaries over my journey. Now, of course, I haven't been vegan as long as Candy has. She said about 2 years, or a little more than 2 years. I'm coming up on the 1.5 year mark here pretty soon, and I've had some stumbles along the way, if you will, just spots where convenience won, and I paid for it, in that respect. Regardless, having seen the other documentaries, What the Health, which is really primarily one of my reasons is the health, and then I'm kind of more of an environmental vegan. The factory farming conditions, the amount of gases produced, the amount of waste produced that's leading out into our water systems. Of course, it's sitting on our water table, and then our fresh water supply is being harmed by these vast amounts of pig and cow waste, of chicken waste, turkey waste, you name it, whatever it is that we're farming for air quotes, for food purposes. And then, so actually having gotten all the way through Earthlings, there was a spot I remember when we were watching it, I actually yelled at the screen because I was so upset by the imaging. If you can watch Earthlings and still consume meat, you are a
not somebody we care to associate with.
yeah, you're a special kind of person because
Yeah.
and I think we've all seen, bouncing around on the internet. Maybe it's just my bad luck. I happen to look at the wrong threads at the wrong time, but I've seen videos of slaughterhouse type things, and
Just
before
general animal cruelty.
yeah, and it bothers me, just to watch it, but I don't know. It was 2 hours of it,
Not quite 2 hours, but
yeah,
I think moreover, it's the fact that they're informative.
yeah,
It's not just a video of gruesome content. It's a video showcasing what really happens behind the scenes.
yeah, yeah, and those conditions there would be what keep me vegan.
Sure. I've said it before. It's hard to believe we're being nourished from an animal that wasn't healthy to start with.
That's incredibly true, and that hits on all sorts of levels if you really break that down. And of course, that's not to lighten it in any way. Okay, so I spoke about some challenges earlier. Candy, do you remember experiencing any challenges, or have there been any challenges along the way here through?
Definitely. In beginning my journey to veganism, I didn't have anyone that I knew that was an honest vegan. It was people who were vegetarians, and the big thing with I can't be vegan because cheese.
Right.
And
right.
After all of the information that we've consumed, I don't understand why cheese. It's not something that I have an issue with that I thought I would.
Right. Well, and there are documentaries out there, and of course, tons of other resources that point at links between the dairy industry and various diseases, both affecting the big ones like heart disease and whatnot, which affects everybody, but more specifically in women,
Yes.
Breast cancer and some other.
Definitely. We're not lactose intolerant. We're just not baby cows.
It's so true.
We are the only species that continues to consume milk after infancy, and it's not even our species milk.
Yeah.
Think about that for a moment. It's not even from our species. How are we, as being a breastfeeding advocate, you know that your body is producing what it needs for said infant. That baby is sick, and breastfeeding moms, you can relate to this. Your baby is sick, there's something going on with baby, and your milk changes to compensate for whatever that baby needs. So I don't think that it's any different for any other species. Like that cow's milk is made for that cow. They have different needs than we do. Their protein levels, their calorie intake is completely different than ours. A cow's body needs things that we don't, or higher levels than we do. And so when we're consuming what was meant for another species, I don't understand how we're actually getting what we need.
You're 100% right. And on top of that, again, cow's milk, you think about a cow biologically, from birth to within its first year, it weighs 1,000 pounds. 1,000 pounds. Just wrap your head around that for a minute.
Definitely.
And so those nutrients are meant for 1,000-pound creature. Not.
And someone would argue that, well, we don't drink the same amount that a cow would at a time or whatnot. But it doesn't, I don't think that the quantity makes that much of a difference. There's still that same level of protein. There's still that same level of calcium or
sure
whatnot in that amount that you're consuming.
And I guess I could see where that argument might make sense, but in this case, it's not, regardless of the amount, it makes sense that it's not designed for us.
Yep. And it's funny to me how many people believe that dairy cows are a special breed of cow that continues to produce milk its entire life. That's not true.
Not at all.
A cow produces milk the same way that a human woman produces milk. It's because she's had a child. So they keep that cow pregnant and birthing babies so that she will continue to consume, she won't continue to consume, she will continue to lactate.
And so, to produce milk, right.
Yeah. So it's forced pregnant.
Forced pregnancy.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
And so it's not even the baby calf that's consuming that milk.
Right.
In most cases, that calf never is
Never
given
even.
the chance.
Right. Suffice to say, like, the argument in science is that chimps are really, really close to us genetically. Why don't we start milking chimps?
It's kind of gross, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a disgusting thought, but we milk cows.
Right.
Cows
and goats.
And all sorts of, whatever. If we can milk it, I mean, we milk almonds. And of course, I've definitely faced some challenges. Staying vegan is difficult. The decision is easy. Like, oh, I'll be healthier. Of course. That part's simple. But actually living a completely vegan lifestyle becomes very, very difficult at times. Both with shopping can pose tons of challenges because next to everything has milk in it. It's insane what you will find milk in.
I think we could devote an entire show to
Products
why does this have milk in it.
Right, you're probably right. I'm thinking of the time we were at the store and found vegetable stock that had milk in it. Mm-hmm. I still can't understand that one.
Potato chips.
We found and not even cheddar cheese. Like the cheddar cheese ones, those make sense. Obviously, that's going to be some sort of milk derivative. I think, or that's what they tell us. That orange powder is cheese. Anyway, the staying vegan. There was a time where when we changed cities, we moved from one city to another, and I was here ahead of you. Mm-hmm. I had moved up here to kind of get us set up. I was working, doing the thing, getting a house going, as we have a whole family of us. So moving 5 people and pets and all that whatnot can be a challenge. Anyway, so I moved up here ahead of time to get everything kind of set up. And in that process, not having my own kitchen really functioning the way it would always, not having all my dishes, not having all my pots and pans, I fell into the creature of convenience. That's what we do socially. And so I would buy tons and tons of vegan snacks, lots of things that I knew were safe, or were vegan friendly to eat. But there were also times where I was just painfully hungry between shifts or something like that at work or whatever it was I was trying to do. And, fast food was somewhere between. And so I kind of fell off the bandwagon for like 2 weeks. And I'm telling you, the difference is I wish we had documented it during that time. It would have been really smart to have done so, but we didn't because I wasn't planning on trying to not be vegan. So, but the difference in how I felt, the way my skin reacted, the way everything, it just like I fell apart literally. Mm-hmm. I was groggy and tired all the time. Couldn't hardly function, and it was insane to think that what we're preached at, the protein, you got to have your meat from protein or your protein from meat. Sorry. It's just, it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
It
and
doesn't.
Not only did it make you feel that way, but it also affected your mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am a creature that's a bit out of balance anyway. And it definitely made it worse. And I didn't understand that was even a thing.
Yep.
Because the change was really so gradual coming into being completely vegan, stepping out of dairy and then stepping out of various other bits first and then getting to the point where it kind of weaned myself off of the meat eating lifestyle, whereas you were just a direct change. I don't tend to work that way.
I had stair steps.
Yeah, that's true.
There wasn't as much distance between my steps as was for you.
Right.
It was within a few days. I just quickly stopped consuming certain things.
Yeah, and mine took more of a process of months, but
yeah. I don't know if this is necessarily a challenge, but something that's really important when it comes to veganism is obviously you think about your food. And granted, veganism isn't just about the food choices that we make, but also about what we wear it's also about our entertainment sources. And by that, I mean going to the zoo or going to the circus, we're not, or the rodeo even. We don't participate in things that exploit animals. So when we are shopping for our clothes, when we're shopping for new shoes, as well as getting groceries, it can pose its challenges, because for us, a trip to the grocery store can take more than an hour, because we're reading labels on everything we pick up, even if it's an item that we normally buy.
Right.
Because it's amazing how sometimes that recipe changes. And one thing that we were buying because we thought that it was okay has become different. So that it's not just about what has milk in it or a meat of some sort, but having honey. We don't eat honey either.
Right. Absolutely. And honey is a common sweetener. It's sort of the healthy alternative. And so a lot of companies, in many cases, the producers are kind of forced into buying honey because it's so much cheaper than stuff like maybe agave or some of these other plant-based sweeteners, or even just plain sugar. But everybody's afraid of sugar now, and I'm not going to say that goes without reason, but definitely more natural sweeteners. It really, we even tend to practice staying away from things that are bleached.
Yes.
If it shouldn't be pure white to start with, we tend to want to keep it that way, which that's a challenge in and of itself, as it adds quite a bit of cost to things, and it's insane. I would think less processed should be cheaper, but for whatever reason it's not.
It's the same with organics. Organics always cost more than.
Well, and it's supply and demand, but that's why, as we continue to eat this way and hopefully advocate this lifestyle and more pick up this lifestyle, whatever the case may be, that helps, of course, adjust supply and demand. It kind of forces companies to think differently. As we've seen over our journey in shopping now, while we still don't tend to support the big companies, but we've seen a lot of big companies make vegan or vegetarian alternatives. So even in this,
I think that showcases that the vegan message is reaching larger markets.
It's true. Well, I would say you went vegan about 2 years ago. Or a little more than 2 years ago. I've been that way for about a year and a half. And I would say in the last year, maybe it's because we're paying more attention, but for sure in the last year, it seems like veganism has kind of been popularized and in its own kind of fashion. It's kind of become the trendy thing to be. It's right up there with your fall trends and stuff like that, when certain times of the year come around, all of a sudden everybody jumps on it. Yeah. And so with this kind of change in the food industry, it seems like, I'm happy that the bigger companies are paying attention now, because they still produce things that are animal based in their other products. I choose not to support them, and that's my inner activist coming out. Since they still farm dairy, I'm not going to support that company.
Right.
I'll stick with the companies that have always been plant-based.
Right.
As they need help growing.
Yes.
That way they can give us cheaper products. That's just really how it's going to work. Well, the more we support them in the long run, the more they have, the more they can. That's really what the difference is between your big producers and your little producers.
And when it comes to cost, we say in many cases, you get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
And so when we're trying to purchase any sort of product, we want it for its quality and in some cases its longevity. And so we're willing to pay more for that jar of quote unquote mayonnaise than we are buying an off-brand that decided to create a line of said vegan, quote-unquote, mayonnaise. And I'm saying it like that because a lot of people don't even understand that mayonnaise isn't vegan by itself. Mayonnaise is made with eggs. Right. And so there is, ranch dressing. Oh, my goodness. For a long time, I thought I was just not going to have ranch dressing. And I'm telling you that would have been something to stop me from being vegan and rather be vegetarian because I didn't know that I could live without ranch dressing. I think everybody has that crutch, that something
Sure,
that they
that
really
food
want
crutch.
to hold
Yeah.
of. And it's funny that when you get that taste of it again in its vegan alternative, it doesn't even taste the same anymore. And not because the profile is different, but because you've been without it long enough that it doesn't matter anymore, that you don't need to coat your food in some other condiment or seasoning because you're not trying to cover up anything.
Sure.
You're willing to eat the food raw because you understand that nutrients is actually being absorbed and not cooked out or covered up with something else.
Right. Another big challenge has always been eating out, right? When you say, as most of the time, I think there's a meme about it too floating around on the internet, but really the only vegan option most of the time at restaurants is French fries.
French fries are a salad.
Or a salad, yeah.
And
only a salad if you go with no dressing in many cases.
and no cheese.
And no cheese, right. Because every salad has to have cheese on it for whatever reason.
Yep.
And so when it comes to eating out, we don't tend to do a lot of it.
We don't. We've done better since we've lived here in this new location, and that's because our current city offers more restaurants that are primarily vegan or offer, I hate the term vegan options, but by that I mean that it's more than, oh, we'll leave off the cheese or substitute your beef for beans and stuff like that. I mean, you can eat out at a restaurant that isn't just Mexican food or Chinese food. Like, we have a place that we enjoy that actually makes burgers, and it's made out of falafel, and
it's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And they even have a mushroom burger, and it's just how it is. That's the menu. There is no substitutions except asking to leave off the cheese. And you become frequent visitors to these locations, and they start remembering you. And so not only did that create an opportunity for you to financially support the vegan industry, but you're also networking with other people who live in your lifestyle. And that's been very beneficial too, because the support system is really important.
Yeah, it really is. It's good. Yeah, when you're trying to make the decision to be vegan or something like that, and of course you're always going to hear there's always opposition. The second you mention that you're vegan,
everybody becomes a nutrition expert.
Absolutely. Every time.
And we say, you can talk to me about my vegan choices when I can talk to you about your high cholesterol.
Right. It's true. And because people don't want to hear it. They don't. They want to quote fake science about how not eating meat is destroying you, and will deny real science about how eating meat is destroying you.
It's true.
It's that actually is the culprit in many cases between it and the dairy industry, regardless. And then, it's so difficult to do it without a support system. And then, of course, the restaurants that have, it's exciting to see that restaurants are doing, you hate the word, but vegan options. And it's,
I think I hate it because I would rather see a restaurant that was a vegan restaurant, not a vegan vegetarian restaurant, an honest vegan restaurant.
Right.
That would be so nice.
It would be really, really nice. It would be important to the vegan community to demand it. Because it doesn't... And I know there probably are vegan restaurants out there. We're probably going to get a ton of comments like, this restaurant's vegan? That's great. Absolutely.
Yes, but here in the Midwest where we're located,
it
doesn't
it's just,
exist.
No, yeah.
We would have to move to the coast for it to be something that we experienced more often.
Right.
It would be beneficial, but, it's also kind of exciting to think that we could pave the way here for this to be something that existed more often. And I think a lot of people look at us like we are following a trend. And for me, I don't feel that way because it was something that I started on my own accord. And then in my research realized this was a thing that was happening globally. Not just within our area, but globally. It's becoming more known. Like look up the China study. If you haven't seen or heard about or read about this, I encourage you to do so, to look up the China study.
Absolutely.
And
the study showed that the diet is directly related to
cancer.
lifelong diseases and cancer.
Yes. I think some of your documentaries will address the China study and the doctor behind it, and which is really beneficial. I think we'll leave some of that in the description for you guys.
Yeah. With that, I want to lead you guys to, we're going to throw some resources down in the comment, or not in comments, in the description, which of course you guys are more than welcome to check out. We encourage you guys check them out. Places where you can find the documentaries that we've seen, maybe even some websites, blogs, maybe good resources down in there. We're going to throw down there for you, so you guys can always check out that stuff. Comment, talk to us about it. We're super passionate about it.
We're not plugging for these companies or for these individuals. These are literally the things that we found most helpful.
Yeah, the things we use to get here.
And we still follow and engage with, because again, it's really important that you have your support system, that you grow your community.
Absolutely. And the bigger your community gets locally, or the more connected you feel to your groups around you, of course, the easier it is to do. It's and again, like I said, it's making the decision is easy. Staying there is what tends to get difficult, because we're human beings, are creatures of convenience, and there being so much convenience in this world, it makes it really, really hard to stick with it.
It does. It's unfortunate that when people face an adversity or a challenge, that they quit. And that's where we want to come in and be that partner alongside you, to be that voice of encouragement and that voice of reassurance that you're not alone in this adventure. And it's quite a journey, that it's life-changing in and of itself to be vegan, because as I stated before, and if I didn't, I definitely intend to, that it's more than just about how we eat, but it's being healthy from the inside out. It's about that good headspace. It's about that good physical health, and about the way that you perceive the world will change when you transition to veganism. I haven't met any vegan that didn't look at the world different than a person who still participates in the consumption of animal products.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what was that? There was a quote. It's in Earthlings. It's quoted. I can't remember who said it now, of course, and that's unfortunate. But the quote was that so long as we are consuming animals, there will be battlefields.
Yes.
Or something
so long
pretty
as we're
close
still
to that.
slaughtering animals.
Yeah, slaughtering animals. There will be battlefields.
There will still be battlefields. I do wish that I remember what that was too.
Who said it?
Yeah.
I don't remember who said it, but it's
very thought-provoking.
It struck me. It struck me for sure. And of course, but I'd been vegan for a long time before I'd actually seen that.
Paul McCartney also says that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, we would all be vegetarian. I wish it said vegan. I really do. But you'll have those who argue that, well, a chicken naturally lays eggs, so we can eat eggs. That should be fine. Or whatever the case may be. And that's where that factory farming comes into place.
Yeah.
That's our biggest struggle is, if you want to have some chickens and those chickens lay those eggs and you pick up that egg and you want to cook it, I guess that's more power to you. I still don't believe that it was for our consumption, though.
I certainly don't either. But I agree with you. I do see that there are ways to harvest animals without doing it in such a massive quantity. Without either, I think if they didn't factory farm the way they did, they would push cows to extinction.
Definitely.
And they're not going to let that happen.
Right.
So
I think one of the statistics said that we consume as much chicken in a day
as we did the whole year
of 1930.
Yeah. And that's just mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. And to think we've got animals like, gorillas and tigers out there that are approaching extinction for being hunted for fun.
Yeah, for sport.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, we can keep a constant supply of cows and pigs.
And don't you love the argument of, well, cavemen hunted and ate meat? Well, here's the thing. Cavemen, yes, they hunted what they needed, used every bit of what they needed. They ate the meat, they used the bones for tools, they used the leather for clothing and shelter, but they didn't slaughter, 10,000 buffalo
in a day
for their consumption. They used what they needed. And now we don't need that consumption. We don't need to participate in that sort of behavior. As remember that that animal received its protein from plants.
Right.
It
And science has gotten advanced enough now. I mean, if we can mass produce cattle, I don't understand why we can't mass produce plants. Seems like there's a whole lot more room on the planet to just stack plants.
Our areas for vegetation in order to raise more cattle. We're destroying whole ecosystems for the purpose of meat. We're tearing down rainforests to grow corn to feed to our livestock.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
Right.
If we were raising our produce to feed cows, we could feed that to the people. Why couldn't we feed that to people? And then how much would we be able to reduce the hunger?
It's true. And well, because to produce so many cattle, they of course, again, I talked earlier, they're 1,000 to 2,000 pound creatures. They eat a lot more than humans do. Mm-hmm. They eat probably what we would eat in a week, in a day,
right,
in plant proteins or in plants, for sure. And with that thinking, if we have to produce that much corn to feed them, just I wish
puzzling.
You could see the puzzled look on my face right now. I just can't even fathom why we can't use that to feed people. And then again, we're science has advanced to the point where we can, we know how to mass produce cattle. Why can't we stack up greenhouses? What are we doing? Mm-hmm. What are we doing? We're clearing out land.
It all comes down to profit.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's a lot more money to be made.
It all comes down to profit.
Yeah, absolutely.
They make more money off of us being sick. They make more money off of us eating the way that they have designed us and to eat. And I say that because, again, with the price, it's a lot cheaper to buy fast food than it is to buy groceries in some cases.
Yep.
It's easier and cheaper to buy all the potato chips and soda than it is to buy the organic produce. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why the salad at McDonald's costs $6 and the hamburger costs $1.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Right. Well, that's because they want to drive consumption. Of course, that's just how it goes. And of course, that's what we're going to use our voice to advocate, is the at least consider your consumption.
You should always make healthy choices.
Yeah.
And you should always make those choices based on the information that you searched for. I do not tolerate listening to somebody tell me it tastes good.
Right.
I don't tolerate listening to somebody tell me, well, we've always done it this way.
Right.
You're not giving me data.
There's
You're
nothing
not
there.
giving me any sort of tangible evidence as to why it's more important that I should consume a chicken breast than I should eggplant.
Right.
There's no tangible other than your opinion. And don't come at me with opinions, come at me with facts.
Right. Right. I mean, and that's the thing. Be well researched.
Always.
Be well researched. This is the age of information. It goes without saying. Be informed.
Yep.
If you're not.
There's no excuse for ignorance in the age of information.
No, absolutely not.
And I'll take that opportunity to reiterate that our children eat this way because of their research. This was not a forced decision. This was not us jamming our beliefs down their throats. This was an entire year's worth of research from them on. Since we do homeschool our children, they were able to take their opportunities to research factory farming. They were able to research Monsanto. They were able to research what meat does to a human body and made their own choices. What
GMOs are, what they mean, what that because I mean, we have a close friend who isn't he's not vegan at all, and that's okay. We don't hold that. But the argument is that even crossbreeding plants is genetic modification, and he's correct scientifically. He's in that meaning he is correct. However, when you breed two different colors of roses together, or when you hand select only the largest tomatoes to get the biggest tomatoes, to get the best next generation of seeds and whatnot, that isn't adding something to the tomatoes that makes bugs stay away from it.
Exactly.
Or
this could be a whole nother episode.
Right, but that's
talking about GMOs, but you're correct. It's not about adding a chemical to a plant to where it just naturally grows with said chemical. Now it's in its DNA that it grows with pesticides.
Mm-hmm. And that's of course, once they're learning about GMOs, that was one of the first subjects they brought to our attention. Like, did you know that they're like have pesticides in them? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like absolutely. That's why. Yep. And of course it was interesting to see them, blossom in that knowledge, kind of like the same way you expect children to, I guess. But
it birthed the conversations of, are we really allergic to these plants, or is it what they've done to them that make us allergic to them?
Right.
For gluten and soy, are we allergic to that, or is
is it something they've done
that
to
they've
it?
done to it?
It's a great question.
Because for me, to eat something with soy that has soy in the ingredients,
sure,
I usually taste and notice immediately because my throat starts to burn and it starts getting itchy and it's all weird. But I can eat tofu.
Right.
Like there's a difference between a pure soy and
some sort of soy protein derivative that they've scienced
right.
until they have now decided it's healthy for human consumption and throw it in your ingredient list. It's and of course they what with there have been large movements out there to stop us from testing on animals, which is good, but in that same respect now that's kind of giving them a free pass to just throw chemicals at our food and hope for the best. And that's
I think one would also argue, are they hoping for the best?
They're just hoping for a good profit margin, really. But and of course,
put my tinfoil hat on and we'll have this discussion.
No, put it down. But in conclusion here, really, of course, there are great resources out there on social media. You can look through our social media. We're always posting different spots to find vegan information, vegan resources, recipes,
That's definitely something I'm going to be doing a lot more. And I've had so many ask, what's the recipe for that dish that you posted? It looks so good.
Right. And of course you can follow us on our Facebook and our Instagram. You can support us through Patreon, of course, keep us doing what we're doing. And then of course,
any questions or comments that you have, please drop them in the comments below and email us. We would like to communicate with you.
Absolutely. We don't mind reading. It's a thing we actually like to do, is to read. But of course, we'll get right back to you. Now, of course, if we choose to use those in the podcast or discuss them in the podcast, we won't give out any sort of personal information about who you are or anything like that. We'll just say, a reader or a listener posed this question, and of course, it provoked said discussion. Yep. And of course, stay tuned. We've got more coming. Absolutely. Check out our Patreon for behind the scenes footage. Maybe even videos, recipes, different things there as well.
Well, until next time.
Farewell.